to say thank you so much for tuning in to Carol's Daily Sauce. If I guess on somewhat of a journey that I literally knew nothing about. It wasn't my personal journey. To be frankly honest with you, I had a subscriber who actually contacted me on Sunday morning and indicated to me that they wanted me to take a look at a documentary. And the name of the documentary is called Blood Brothers. And at first, I didn't know exactly what I was going into, but I'm always pretty much of the type of person to have an open mind and go into things and kind of like feel my way around. I don't listen to what anybody has to say or how they felt about things. But to make a long story short, I was trying to locate the video that this young lady had mentioned to me on her page of the Blood Brothers. Please do not try to do a search on YouTube for Blood Brothers, the documentary, because if in fact you do, you will find all kinds of things that are unrelated to the documentary. If you're interested in seeing the documentary after I share my thoughts and my reactions on it, or even before, I will be more than willing to tell you where I was able to find the information. With that being said, I need to let you all know that this is probably the longest reaction video that I don't want to say I will ever have, but it probably is the longest reaction video that I have done as far as my notes and things. This reaction is going to be very heartfelt. I will be giving my opinions throughout it as I always do. But let's just go ahead and get into the video. I do want you guys to know that there is a great possibility that the reaction could go from part 1 to part 2 to part 3. I have lots of notes, but I promise you this is a reaction to a documentary that you do not want to miss out on. So when the Big Brother starts out, there is a guy by the name of Rocky. And Rocky works, I believe, for an agency or a hostel that has made a home available for women and children affected, and get this, and abandoned by the AIDS virus. So basically, these women and their children are dealing with the effects of AIDS and HIV and are abandoned as a result of it. So what Rocky has done is he has traveled to India and worked with and assisted and loved on the children and their mothers throughout this whole documentary. I believe it was well over, very close to 3 years. These children and their mothers were living in a home for mothers with children, as I said before, who were affected with the problems, the troubles, and the pains of HIV and AIDS. I'm going to tell you a little background about about Rocky. Rocky's name is Robin, but his grandfather started calling him Rocky because his grandfather felt like Robin was a name for a girl. Rocky hails from Ohio. He was raised by his grandfather, he and his sister, after their drug-addicted mom left them. Rocky's father resurfaced sometime in their life as he grew older. At the time of the father resurfacing in Rocky's life, he not only resurfaced solely, he came with a new wife and another son. Long story short, Rocky was thrown into a life unknown. So all this time he had been living with his grandfather, and all of a sudden, Dad wants to come back to take he and his sister. It didn't settle well with Rocky. He went to school, and all throughout school, Rocky took special education classes. He said every time he walked around, guys, girls would say, "There's that sped boy." He always felt out of place while he was in school. But he had a friend by the name of Stephen, and that's why I said Stephen earlier, who took a liking to Rocky and basically became his best friend. Rocky was a loner in Ohio in the United States. But what eventually happened is he moved in with his friend. Stephen. Stephen actually allowed him to stay with him for many years. Rocky was in India at one particular time, and he was informed that his visa was rejected, so he had to return back to the United States. Now, at this time, at the beginning of the documentary, it had not begun to tell you the type of work that Rocky was into. Once again, after being in India, here Rocky is thrust back into unknown territory, going back to the U.S., where people, family and friends had careers, and Rocky was just out of place. He didn't know what to do. His thoughts were constantly on the children that he loved and cared for while he was in India. Rocky felt completely out of place in the United States. Back in India, in the home where all the children had HIV and some had AIDS, the only persons who did not have the disease was actually Rocky and the cook. All of the children, all of their mothers, all of them were affected. The aunties were the mothers. So if there were children who were orphans, the mothers who were there would mother the other children. Stephen was an Anna, and an Anna in India is a big brother. Stephen, I keep saying Stephen, but it's actually Rocky, was their father. He was their friend, but they all treated him as their big brother. And basically you can hear them throughout the documentary saying, Rocky Anna, which means Rocky, my big brother. The children were often sad, but Rocky and the aunties would come together as a community to make them feel better and assure them that they would be taken care of. You guys, one of the reasons that I'm still doing the recordings as I am doing this is because I'm still not 100%, and so I'm relaxing today. So anyway, Rocky returns back to India. While he's there, he's doing the same things that he had originally done. He is one who takes his family, because that's what he looks at the children and the aunties as, his family. They go on family trips. They celebrate together. They celebrate birthdays together. Watching this documentary, you can see and understand why the children would come to love Rocky and would look at him as a big brother, would look at him as a part of the family. I noticed throughout the documentary there was a large amount of love and a large amount of respect for Rocky because he just was always there for him. They watched movies together. He was always interacting with the children. And it has to be a very rewarding job. In my opinion, these children, these aunties that he works with, they became the family that he never really had. They love together, they cry together, they celebrate together. Rocky always felt that he wasn't connected to his family in the United States. But here in India, he just felt at home. Thousands and thousands of miles away, he felt at home with the people who weren't physically well, but they loved him. Rocky did things such as teach them how to brush their teeth, teach them how to cook hot dogs, all types of things that we here in the United States take for granted. This village was a very poor village in India. At some time, Rocky's very best friend Stephen joined them once Stephen returned back to India. Or once Rocky returned back to India. Stephen confessed that he had a fear of being amongst the children and their parents, their mother, because they had AIDS or HIV. It heightened a fear within him. But somehow, because of Rocky and the way he interacted with them and loved them, it changed his thoughts. He said, Stephen doesn't even think about AIDS. He doesn't think about HIV and becoming infected. Rocky literally found his childhood in these children, said Stephen. I'm telling you guys, the children are beautiful. They're happy. They're happy that somebody loves them, that they aren't rejected because of their disease. Stephen indicated that it was really hard trying to keep up with Rocky because Rocky was always doing something. He was always ordering pizza for the children or playing with them or showing them how to do this and how to do that. Rocky in turn said that he and his family, because he called them his family, would tell jokes and cry together. He said, we're family. He would take them to the dentist. At one time during the documentary, Rocky and Stephen visited a girl in the hospital who had lived in the house. One of the famous things that they did when they lived in the house out of celebration is Rocky would buy them pizza. So when he went to the hospital, the girl was sick, and he knew in getting her pizza, it would bring her some joy. These children love Rocky. Rocky went to the slums everywhere in India, and everywhere he went, he had friends. He announced that he would be marrying an Indian girl, and they were ecstatic. This documentary, you guys, was probably one of the most touching documentaries that I've ever seen in my entire life. The living quarters in the documentary and the house that they live in is that of a shelter here in the United States. There are bunk beds on top of bunk beds, and everyone does all they can to get along. As I said, Rocky continues to play with the children, and he gives them a sense of joy that they might otherwise not have due to being in a home, away from people, away from society, away from everyone. It kind of reminds me of the story in the Bible. I don't want to get into the story in the Bible right now because there's a section in this documentary where I'll touch on that. But the children, when they get around Rocky, all you see are smiles. They're enlightened to just see him come on the scene, just to see him being goofy and having a great time with them. And I believe it has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of these children, some of them have lost every bit of family that they know to AIDS and HIV. Some of them are orphans. Stephen, who is Rocky's friend and is the cameraman, interviews a mother and daughter, and they speak of the girl's father, who is now deceased. The girl can speak very good English. And what the father actually did prior to his death was, with the little girl that is actually talking and asking the questions, interpreting things to Stephen, he asked the mother not to have the baby because he knew that the children would be born with HIV. The mother actually took the abortion injection, but it didn't work. As a result, she had twins. One of the twins, the one that is speaking, her name is Dipna. She is the one that is telling this story. The father also suggested that he go to the store and buy poison, and all of them could take the poison and they all would die. He brought the poison, and I'm assuming he took the poison and died because he was inflicted with the AIDS virus. 4 months after he died, the mother found out she did have HIV. But she had her children tested, all 3 of them, and none of them had HIV. Do you guys see God's purpose? This man wanted the whole entire family to kill themselves because he had HIV. The mom had HIV, or the mom had HIV and he had AIDS. He didn't want to go through that pain because there's real pain in it. So he killed himself and wanted his family to kill themselves as well. But the mother wouldn't have it. Y'all, once again, these are the most beautiful children I've ever seen in my life. Different shades of brown. Some of them are very dark. Some of them are caramel complected. Some of them are just tan. Nevertheless, they are absolutely beautiful. They tell stories of being separated from their family members as they live in these houses, or I believe what they call hostels. Their stories are tragic. They're incredible. But they're very, very sad. Rocky continues to love upon the children. He loves upon every single child as if they're his very own. He teaches them things. He teaches them how, if I give you this, I want you to appreciate it. I don't want you just to be the type of person to take something that I give you and just run away with it and don't, in fact, appreciate it. He teaches them great values. He teaches them morals. He teaches them life lessons. I'm not saying that the Indian people don't teach their children good morals nor good values. All I'm saying is some of the children have lost their parents. And because some of them have lost their parents, and it is somewhat of an orphanage environment, a lot of time is spent on a lot of children. And sometimes individual time cannot be given to the children. Basically, what I have found to be very exciting about the whole entire documentary, not necessarily exciting, I should say, but I would say interesting, is the love that this man has for the children. And I believe it may have something to do with the very fact that as a child, even though his grandfather gave him love, it probably wasn't the father-son love that he desired to have. The relationship that Rocky has with these children is a big brother relationship, but he loves them. He helps them. He teaches them things. He plays with them. So it's more of a fatherly type of figure. I mean to tell you guys this. I had to stop this documentary quite a few times because I was moved to tears. If you decide to watch the documentary, I do want to forewarn you, there are going to be some times within this documentary that are going to be 100% heart-wrenching. I don't want to give too much of the details, and it's a long documentary, so I didn't, and I can't give you all of the details, and I wouldn't, but it's worth seeing. It is definitely worth seeing. It's worth seeing, number one, because these are things that we aren't shown. You know, we aren't shown that these types of things happen every single day, all across the world. So I guess the one thing that I would say in this documentary, in closing out this video, is this. You may not always be thanked for the wonderful and great things that you do for others. You may not always be appreciated. But do the random act of kindness anyway. Because honestly and truly, whether you're a Christian or not, what goes around does come around. You do good, good comes back to you. Treat people, no matter who they are, with loving kindness. It doesn't hurt to give peers. It doesn't hurt to offer a smile. It doesn't hurt to say something nice. When I looked at this documentary, it really honestly made me think about the United States. It made me think about how we throw away food. It made me think about how we have the opportunity to go to the hospital. I know in the state of California, they have covered California. Everybody has medical care. And how we don't even use what it is that we have. And then when we do use what it is that we have, we want to complain. Y'all, looking at this documentary, we have no reason to complain about anything. Nothing. These poor children are dying left and right from a disease that they had no idea. Some of these babies were not even born. They were born with AIDS and HIV. So all of these adverse effects and pains and inflictions that they have on their body, it wasn't a result of anything that they did, nor is it even a result of anything that their parents did. This could have been a blood transfusion. This could have been God knows what, or how it happened. It just makes you think about life, and it makes you think about how whatever it is that you can do without harming yourself, whatever hand you can lend, whatever smile you can give, whatever you can give to someone to make their day brighter, just do it. You may not make any money, but you'll have the joy in having made someone smile. Life can be so simple. We as humans make it difficult. It truly is the little things that matter. I want you guys to know this documentary has changed my life. I've had some really life-changing situations happen. And y'all know me. I speak my mind on things. This documentary, if you have an hour and a half to sit down and watch a very heartfelt, heart-wrenching, informative documentary, I challenge you to do it. With that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell to be reminded of all of the videos that I upload. To the beautiful young lady that shared the documentary information with me, I thank you so much from the very bottom of my heart. It saddens me that so many young people, or people in general, are dying from HIV and AIDS. It saddens me to the core, and something needs to be done about it. It doesn't matter that it's not in the United States, because you know what? People are people everywhere we go. I wish you love, peace, and happiness, just as well as every single person that has listened to this recording. Thank you so much for tuning into Carol's Daily Sauce. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell so that you're reminded of all the videos